Iain from RTO here. Hope you're well. Just before we start, don't forget tomorrow is the closing date for the Let Me Introduce You contest. It will close at 10 AM tomorrow Greenwich Mean Time. Just a little plug for the competition, so if you haven't got your entry in, you've got it's about 24 hours to get it in. Okay, what have we got for you today? Well, we've reached the last part of the John Mitchel story. Been a really long one, this hasn't, but John has been involved with so many bands. We've covered everything that John has done. Well, there's one more band, but he only played on one track on one album, so that will come up at some stage. But today we're going to look at a band that he technically wasn't a part of, but he got involved with and has played on the 3 albums, a couple of tracks on each album. And that's a band called the Legacy Pilots. Now this is a project by a German musician called Frank Oos, which is spelled us, so like us, and it's an inspired band of passing some of the great musicians from the 70s prog scene. They were founded in Hamburg in Germany in 2018, and his music pays tribute to symphonic prog rock, and that there's so many people that he's had on these albums from the prog world and rock world. It's got a solid base of session musicians, but the guests that come on these albums are pretty good, and they are really good albums. They've only brought out 3, but they are really good albums. There's not a bad one amongst them. So coming in at number 3, this is from 2018, and it's called Con Brio. So you've got Frank Oos, who does keyboards, guitars, bass, percussion, vocals, and producer. Now the people on this one are Ricky Garcia on guitars, he plays a couple of times. You've got Steve Morse from Dixie Dregs and Deep Purple, of course, John Mitchel, Bill Evans, Steve Rothery from Marillion, Mark Kelly from Marillion, got Finley George on bass, Lars Slowak on bass as well, Marco Minanum on drums, Todd Schumann from Styx, Andrew McGuinness drums, and someone called Lisa on backing vocals. Now the first one's called The Emerson Empire, and as it says in the title, this is a bit of a sort of tribute to Keith Emerson. It's a really good track. It's got all them traits of Keith Emerson. I really like that track. Really good. Handled with care. Yeah, some solid stuff. It's just good old-fashioned prog. You can't go wrong with it, to be quite honest. Then we get a track called Value 8. Good track. It's got a guitar solo here from Steve Morse. Absolutely brilliant guitar solo. The Stumbling Heart. Now this is the one that's got John Mitchel on it. It's not particularly a good track. The drumming though is from Todd Schumann, and John sings the vocals. It's not particularly a good track. Then we get a track called called No Place for Us. Really like this track. I love the start and the middle bit with that lovely keyboard. This is Frank Oos. Really good. Then we got a track called The Spirit Is Forever. It's a very Dave Gilmour sort of pastiche sort of track. Really nice song. Then we get my favourite track on here called The Fight of the Demons. It happens to have Steve Rothery doing the guitar solo on it, but take away from that, it's just some great poppy modern prog, but the Steve Rothery's keyboard solo is a pretty good. Yeah, The Spirit of Forever, I forgot to mention, it's got Mark Kelly on it, so the keyboards are good in that. For a Better World, a lot of fun, it's not too bad. Then we get the title track, Con Brio, the keyboards and the mixture of Hammond, it's really, really good. Yeah, there's a couple of tracks on here I'm not keen on. It's funny that the one that's not my favourite has got John Mitchel on it, but it's not a bad album to listen to, so I should give this one an RTO ranking of 7.7. Okay, then coming in at number 2, we got a 2021 and the Penrose Triangle. So you got Frank Oos on the keyboards, Todd Schumann's back on the drums, some sticks, Marco Menanum on drums. You got Peter Juvavas on bass for a couple, from Marillion and Transatlantic and Kino. Lars Slowak on the bass. John Mitchel does the vocals on the first 2 tracks. Jake and Lisa Liveran do the vocals. Finley Jones back. Steve Rothery's doing a couple of guitar solos on tracks 2 and 3. Eric Gillette does guitars as well, and Ricky Garcia. Better Days is the first track. John Mitchel sings this. This is a really good vocal from John and a really good track. I like that one. Ghosts of the Ocean, So Atmosphere. Great solo from Steve Rothery as ever. Atmospheric track. Heaven Must Know. The best part of this, of course, is Steve Rothery's guitar solo again. Absolutely brilliant. Then we get Madkins, one of my favourite songs on here. It is my favourite, I think. It's got Eric Gillette, some great shredding on here, great track. And Dominoes Fall. This features Mr. Truvavas on the bass. You can pick his bass line up just like that. Excellent bass line. It's a really good track. His bass line does hold it together though, and I'm not being biased, it's just a fact. Coast Guard cards, not keen on this one. If it wasn't for the bass line though, it'd be pretty weak. Then we get Shadow Play. Good old fashioned proggy sound, some great piano and drumming on that. Then we get A Change of Mind. This is a bit of an epic, 10 minutes long. Some sublime drumming, some nice vocals, delicate guitar work, not a bad track. A Compendium of Life. Out of the 2 long tracks, this is 9 minutes. This is my favourite. The keyboards are brilliant. I don't know if it plays tribute to Mark Kelly and Tony Banks, but it's got their style of playing on it. It's an excellent track. A solid album. Again, really good prog album. So I'm going to give this one an RTO ranking of 8 out of 10. So my favourite of the Legacy Pilots is an album that came out in 2020 and it's called Aviation. So we got Frank Oos on it. Also we got Marco Meinman on it again. Todd Schumann's back. Peter Juvavas is back. Lars Slowak's here. Ricky Garcia. Steve Morse pops up on this. Jake Liveran doing the vocals. Jordan Rudess from Dream Theater pops up on this one. And John Mitchel sings and does the guitar solo on track 5. Finley George is on here as well. So the first track is called The Squad Is Back. Great track this is. Peter's bass line is brilliant. Then you got this lovely guitar solo from Ricky Garcia. Really good track. A Different League. This one's okay. I do love the synth in this. It's Jordan from Dream Theater. Really good track. Then we get a track called Dreamers. Quite a gentle one. Jake Liveran's vocal on it is really good. Innocent. Not very keen on this one. It's a little bit lackluster. Then we get Wide Wide World. John sings on this and his solo is absolutely amazing. Good track. Fear Part 1, Proximity and Distance. Love this. It's part of a little epic. I love the structure of this. It's got some great pieces on. The vocals are good. And then Fear Part 2, Hope and Failure. The bass line is brilliant. The keyboard sounds something like The Second Home by the Sea by Genesis. The guitar solo is pretty good. Then we get circadian rhythms. I love the acoustic guitar on this one. Lovely vocals on this one. Then we get an epic called Immortal. My favourite track on here, and probably my favourite track by Legacy Pilots as well. It starts off with that calmness. You get this great bass line from Peter, and then there's a little bit, the sound of the beginning of this is a bit like Gypsy by Uriah Heep. It's a really strong track, and it's got lots of classic sounding Genesis on it, different styles of prog all thrown into the track. Absolutely fantastic. Then we get To the Stars. Now I love the gentleness of this. It's delicate guitar work and a striking guitar solo. Then we get the last track, Adventurous Journey. Lots of good stuff about this. Todd's drumming is just fantastic. He is such a good drummer. Then you get a fantastic guitar solo from Mr. Steve Morse. That really proggy sounding keyboard. Excellent way to end the album. This is a great album because it's got all the different styles of prog in it. You know, from Marillion, Jethro Tull's on there, Little Bit of Camel and Gentle Giant. Frank Goose has actually got all this good bits of probably his favourite prog bands. It's a terrific album, so I'm going to give this an RTO ranking of 8.2. So there we go, John Mitchel. Fantastic guitar player, good singer, and he's been in some fantastic bands, and I hope this has sort of opened your eyes up to a little bit more of John Mitchel, apart from the one we know him most for is Arena, It Bites. So this has been a really good one. I've really enjoyed doing this one. So next week we start another story. I'm not going to go too much into it, but I'll tell you who he is. One of my favourite guitarists. He's a great rock guitarist. He was a great blues guitarist, and he left us too soon. And we're talking about the fantastic Mr. Gary Moore, who I've seen numerous times. I loved Gary Moore. So we're going to look through all his stuff. Although we have done Thin Lizzy, only appeared on a couple of Thin Lizzy, so we're going to look at all the other stuff that he was involved with throughout his career. Okay, retro ranking today's next, and this is a special one. It's sort of a dedication to childhood, especially here in the UK. We used to have a show called Junior Choice. I used to play requests of all these kids songs, so we will be looking at some of my favourite songs that I loved as a child growing up. Some really a good mixture in there, and I'm sure even if you're in America or wherever you're watching in the world, you might recognise some of those. So join me for that, for a little bit of fun. So bye for now.